I'm going to call this one Using Functions to Do Math, Part 2. I'm going to stick with these same functions I had from before, this f of x and this g of x, and I want to look at something that is called a nested function, because if I can evaluate these nested functions, then I can pretty much do all the function things. So I'm going to start there. So what a nested function is, it looks something like this. Maybe I want to find f of g of negative 2. So it's a nested function because I'm taking the function of a function. And I just have to treat this again as kind of boxes. So g of negative 2, I know what to do with that. I'm going to work from the inner layer outward and kind of pull these layers out like an onion. So g of negative 2, that is one value. I can go to my graph, I can say when x is negative 2, right, the inner part of this is my input. So when x is negative 2, I get g equals, so 1, 2, I get g equals right here, negative 1, that's the y value. So this whole piece is negative 1, and that means that now the question that I'm doing, f of negative 1. I'm taking what was inside my parentheses. Remember, now this whole red box is acting as my argument. So now negative 1 becomes my input. So I'm saying x equals negative 1. When x is negative 1, I'm right here, my f function, because I'm finding f. It's 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at this point. Equals 3. Now this one is not reversible, and that's an important piece to recognize. So this was f of g of negative 2. What if I have g of f of negative 2? Will that work the same way? So f of negative 2, now I'm going to say this is my inner layer, and for that inner layer, my input is x equals negative 2. When I go to x equals negative 2, 1, 2, I am right here. I'll put a box around it this time. So my f value is 1, 2, 3 is 3. So this whole thing equals 3. Now what I'm looking at is g of 3. G of 3, now 3 is my input value. And my input is x, so x equals 3. So I'm just doing the same thing, I'm just doing it in 2 steps, right? I'm taking my inner part, my far inner part, that's my input, I treat that as x, I find my output. And then, second step, because this is a nested function, I'm going to take what was the output of the box and make that the input to my new function. So now my input is x equals 3, 1, 2, 3, at x equals 3, I get this value right here for g, and that is 1.5. So I get equals 1.5. That's how I'm going to do nested functions, and that's the graphical version of it anyway.